Those are my balloons, and this is Boy Party. This week, myself and Shane will be discussing 1989's Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. It is the start of our Joker month here on the show. Let's go! Ha ha ha, and indeed, ha ha. Welcome to Boy Party, everybody. It's the start of Joker month. Throughout September, we're going to be discussing 4 movies featuring the infamous Crown Prince of Crime, a man so sick he thinks crime is funny. My name is Lucian, and I'm joined by...
Your most twisted co-host.
My most twisted co-host, the wickedly talented, one and only Shun Kulur. Welcome. That wasn't funny.
Shane T. Joker.
Shane T. Joker. Welcome to the show, Shane.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Joker Month. We are kicking off Joker Month today, which is a fun project to boost the numbers with 4 very commercial films.
Mm-hmm.
This week, Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Next week, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, starring Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, and Aaron Eckhart. Then we're going to be doing Suicide Squad, the wonderful David Ayer 2016 movie with Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto.
I can't believe I have to watch that again.
Yeah, and then on the week of release, hopefully, or just before, we're going to cover Todd Phillips's Joker, Folie, Deux, featuring Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. And that'll be the wrap up of Joker Month. Mm-hmm. So we hope you enjoy the Joker and DC Comics, because we're going to be doing a month of comic book nonsense.
Yeah, if you dislike the Joker,
Sorry about that.
Yeah, apologies.
We are obviously cynical people about comic book movies, and doing a month of comic book movies might seem to contravene that idea. But I would argue these are 4 completely different types of movies with very different stars in them, which makes it fun to bump from one to the other.
And they're very different periods and very different intentions.
Yeah,
and
exactly. We've got a really good classic 80s superhero movie. We've got a Christopher Nolan film. We've got slop franchise building nonsense. And then we have
the response to that.
The response to that, whatever this new Joker sequel is going to be, it certainly seems like something that'll be worth chatting about on a podcast. So strap yourselves in. We will have maybe the odd bonus episode dropping during the month to spice things up as well if we get the chance. But
Lucian just telling me I have overtime this month.
Exactly.
This is the first time hearing of bonus episodes.
As in if there's any new releases that drop that might seem semi-interesting, we might throw a 20 minutes here or there.
Grand.
And 20 minutes that we will take away from our Suicide Squad episode until it is 2 minutes long.
So here, that studios keep putting movies out, and we will do less of Jared Leto's Suicide Squad.
But we're kicking off today with an actual good film, one of the only really good films by one of the most successful filmmakers alive, Tim Burton, who has a big new movie coming out it will have been out by the time this episode is recorded, and I'm just realizing that recording this episode early is removing the opportunity for us to talk about the film.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll edit it in. Maybe we'll edit in some talk about Beetlejuice right now, or maybe we won't. You'll know what happened in a couple of weeks from now.
Wow, Beetlejuice, huh?
Beetlejuice.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But Michael Keaton and Tim Burton are still working together in 2024. They've got Beetlejuice coming out. They worked together on Dumbo a couple of years ago, Tim Burton's last film.
I did not know Tim Burton made Dumbo.
He did, and then he got so depressed he didn't want to make films anymore, and he went into TV.
Dumbo.
Yes, Dumbo. Michael Keaton's in that. But they have a long and very successful partnership. And this is the first time they work together, I suppose. I should probably have checked my dates. Beetlejuice is before this. Apologies, by 1 year. But I think Tim Burton is obviously worth discussing. I've seen all his films bar 1 or 2. He peaks very, very early. Beetlejuice and Batman are probably his best 2 films, maybe. And then things kind of are very shaggy then for the next 15, 20 years. And in the last sort of 10 to 15 years, the man has really made nothing of value, in my opinion. Whether Beetlejuice proves to be a comeback, I'm not so sure. It is a very, very kind of obvious cash-in sequel to a film that is constantly the muse of Facebook AI generated sequel poster generators. You know, the Facebook slop people love to have been talking about Beetlejuice 2 for years. So it's being made to kind of satisfy the worst people.
Yeah, it came out at the right time that the kind of people that use Facebook would probably actually get quite excited about a Beetlejuice
exactly
sequel.
So Tim Burton's not quite doing anything to redeem himself to me yet, but there are some good films in there. I think Beetlejuice is really good. I think this is really good. Edward Scissorhands scares me, but is not bad. Then Batman Returns is obviously a lot of fun. And then you've got stuff, basically a mix of stuff I have no interest in. Ed Wood, Mars Attacks, Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes, famously one of the worst films ever made, pretty much. Although it does feature Paul Giamatti in full ape makeup, which is a gift. Big Fish, one of his better films, really moving drama. Billy Crudup, Ewan McGregor, very good film. Albert Finney. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I stand up for. I think it's excellent. I think it's a lot of fun. Might actually be my favorite film of his.
I agree.
The last one, that's the last good film the man ever makes. Then we've got Sweeney Todd, which is not great. Alice in Wonderland is absolutely abysmal. Dark Shadows is awful. Frankenweenie is nothing. It's just stop motion remake of his own short film. It's really lazy. Big Eyes, boring. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is boring. Dumbo is really, really, really weak. And that's taken us up to the present day. That's Tim Burton's career. A lot of money made there for a lot of people, but not necessarily a lot of great films. I was definitely a Tim Burton child. I was like really into his thing. I was like, ooh, all his films have like weird spooky stuff in them. This is great. And then he wrote a children's book, The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy, and I thought that was great. And I really like bought his shtick for many years, and now I'm like completely out on it. I'm like, you are a fraud, Tim Burton. You are like a very annoying man. I've heard that he's very rude on sets. He was married to the awful Tory voting Helena Bonham Carter for many years, and then went and got with Eva Green, and I just find his whole thing to be really off-putting. He seems like someone I wouldn't want to hang out with. With all that said, Batman 1989, a lot of fun. I take it that you agree.
Oh, I like this way more than I thought I was gonna.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know, I thought in my head kind of like these 1980s Batman kind of fell into the Indiana Jones, Star Wars kind of original things in my head, where I was just like, I don't really need to see these. I feel like these are probably just like nostalgia
for 80s
pieces.
babies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is really funny.
Yeah. These are really funny and colorful, and
they've got two weird guys playing it, and it's like,
yes. I think the issue with a lot of those 80s films that people go nuts for is that they're starring people with no weirdness to them, like Harrison Ford, who's like a very straight kind of flat actor, as much as I do like him. Whereas making Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton the focus of your big kind of hyper designed, stylized, kind of fantastical movie, you're in for a lot of fun with those guys. Like they have weird performance styles that clash in interesting ways.
Like I got a weird sense of this, that even though the entire thing is hyper dramatized and hyper stylized, that like even like the other characters in the film kind of nearly used to look at each other like, these two guys are a bit fucking weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's great.
It is.
Jack Nicholson, first build on the movie. Very unusual case of the villain in a superhero movie getting first billing. The only other example I can think of is Batman and Robin a couple of years later, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger is billed first before Clooney, who plays Batman. But I think nowadays in 2024, there is a sort of an agreement that even if the villain is a much bigger star, you're not going to ever not have the person playing the hero first billed. It's kind of like
Really?
It just doesn't happen. Like,
yeah,
the person whose name is in the superhero in the name of the film, that actor always gets first bill.
Yeah.
Chris Evans in Civil War is billed before Robert Downey Jr. You know, it always happens. Henry Cavill is. Sorry, that's a different case. I was going to say Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck does come first in Batman v Superman, but they have both their names in the title. Anyway, so that's interesting. Poster says Nicholson, Keaton, Batman. It's great. The poster is also great. It's a great poster that's just the big Batman black and gold logo. No faces on it. Great poster. In art class in school, I remember Mr. Dowling was like, this week we're going to draw a movie poster, an album cover, a book cover, so bring one in. And I was like, this'll be easy. It's just a big logo. And it was actually really hard because then once I was like announced that that's what I was doing, he was like, oh, well, now you have to be really, really,
really precise. Yeah.
Like he was like, if you're not going to draw people, you're not going to draw anything particularly representative. You're going to have to do these lines and curves and gloss.
You got to get your compass out here.
Yeah, you got to get your compass out here. And I actually found it really challenging to do the symmetrical Batman logo because it just has a slightly too many like wing curves on it. But anyway, it is cool.
That thankfully became a lifelong skill of yours because you now draw every new film poster of a new release you see in a little notebook.
I do. But I'll tell you how this film came about. In the late 70s, Batman's popularity was waning. Obviously, Batman had been a popular TV series in the 60s and a movie with Adam West, which is just like a straight, goofy comedy. It's a lot of fun, but it's just a comedy. So some producers got involved. They wanted to do a definitive, dark, serious version of Batman. I like that this is what they came up with. Like, it is funny how they set the bar with this one being the definitive, dark, serious version of Batman. And then everyone had to keep pushing it darker, 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 darker. And now we're at the point where the Batman mainline films with Pattinson are just downright miserable and like have no humor or color. And it's because this is where they set the bar for seriousness and people had to keep pushing. And it's like, good grief. Good, please just make the Batman.
But also the norm for unseriousness kind of shifted towards like being ironic.
Yes.
Which kind of rules out any like opportunity to...
It's unfortunate now.
To come back around. Because like if you put something like this with this tone out today, people will mock it.
I know. It's a pity. It feels as though there's really... the only two extremes are Deadpool or the Batman. I mean, I would argue that the James Gunn Suicide Squad is probably the most successful middle ground of like... It is James Gunn-y and it's very sarcastic, but it's nowhere near as annoying as Deadpool. It has a lot more sincerity and trying to have some actual like scale as a story. So, but anyway, they got Tim Burton involved and producer John Peters joined the project. So this is of course the man who is Barbra Streisand's partner at the time. He produced Star is Born for her and subsequently credited as a producer on A Star is Born that we covered on the podcast, which I think we discussed at the time. He is played by Bradley Cooper in Licorice Pizza. He's a big personality. And Tim Burton gets involved, and then they have to cast the role. So some of the actors considered for the role of Batman were Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Charlie Sheen, Tom Selleck, Bill Murray, Dennis Quaid, Harrison Ford. Pierce Brosnan had been approached by Burton. Willem Dafoe had been considered at one point. And producer John Peters suggested Michael Keaton. Sorry, I was like pretty certain that Alec Baldwin had been involved, but I cannot find his name on this at all. He seems like a much more conceivable choice than any of those names.
Yeah, I think given the Michael Keaton pick, Alec Baldwin is surely in the same realm of kind of weird guy who's like overly serious.
Yeah, like Dennis Quaid, Harrison Ford, both awful choices. Tom Selleck, so boring. Charlie Sheen and Bill Murray are like Bill Murray's an insane choice. Like that's
for Batman.
He's a comedian. Like makes no sense for Batman. Mel Gibson and Kevin Costner.
Like the entire comedy of this film comes from the fact that Michael Keaton does not think anything is a joke,
and he can't crack a smile.
No, not at all.
The Joker thinks everything's a joke, even crime and murder.
Yeah.
So Michael Keaton was suggested by John Peters, who said he had an edgy, tormented quality. And
he's correct.
Tim Burton said, "Sure, I like him." The casting of Keaton caused a furore among comic book fans. 50,000 people sent letters to Warner Brothers offices. Obviously, there was a negative response, said the producers. They thought Michael Keaton was a comedian, and Keaton went and studied the comics for inspiration. Names considered for the Joker: Tim Curry, David Bowie, John Lithgow, Brad Dourif, Ray Liotta, and James Woods. Robin Williams lobbied hard for the part, but Jack Nicholson had been the studio's top choice since 1980. And Peters had approached him back as far as 1986.
They really did come out with the best possible outcome.
Combo.
Yeah.
God, okay, Tim Curry, I'm not a Tim Curry fan.
Sure.
He's not a subtle actor at all. David Bowie, obviously David Bowie as the Joker would be a fun thing to see. I don't think he'd be very good. John Lithgow, it's not
dull choice.
Brad Dourif is good, but he'd be too scary. Ray Liotta also may be too scary. keep in mind, this is Ray Liotta pre-Goodfellas. This is like very young Ray Liotta.
Oh, yeah.
And then James Woods, who's like just a freak. Now, Robin Williams, we're all better off having not seen Robin Williams play the Joker. I mean, we didn't need that. Nicholson had an agreement where his contract specified the number of hours he was entitled to have off each day from the time he left the set to the time he reported back for filming, as well as he was allowed to take time off to go to Lakers games. He demanded that all
21 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
He demanded that all of his scenes be shot in a 3-week block, but the schedule ended up lapsing to 106 days. Well, that is very different. He reduced his fee from 10 million to 6 million in exchange for a cut of the film's earnings, including merchandise.
Oh,
which
no.
led to remuneration in excess of 50 million, but his biographer says that it was probably more like 90 million. And he also demanded top billing on promotional materials. Nice. 90 million for playing the Joker in this. Like, you'd fucking be sick. You'd be sick.
He's laughing.
He's
all
laughing.
The way to the bank.
He's laughing. Those laughs he's doing in the film, they're all real.
Yeah. All that money he has in the film, it's all
insane.
real.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there is, like, the best scene, I think, in this film is the Joker has a money parade.
Yes,
where he gets a series of floats.
You did love his money parade.
during the
it's the Gotham
the
City
it's the
centenary.
200
yeah.
or how many years?
It's like some sort of centenary.
some anniversary of the city anyway. And he gets a big float with lots of huge balloons.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to pass out $200 million in cash.
Yes.
To everyone who comes.
Yes.
And he does. Mm-hmm. And there's like a 5-minute just uninterrupted sequence of him and his goons on the float, just like throwing money around.
Yeah.
All the goons are smiling and dancing. He's smiling and dancing. Like, it just doesn't cut to anything else for a while, and it's the most wonderful thing I've seen.
There's no action happening. We're just
there's no action.
Yeah, I think this film like allows the Joker to like do funny stuff without having to like bring action into it, which is really fun. Like in The Dark Knight, obviously the Joker in The Dark Knight is meant to be really scary. I mean, I find the Joker in this is actually kind of scary. I mean, he's scary in the sense that like the makeup comes on and off, and like he's got like the scars are very visible, and then he's doing all this weird other stuff. I don't know. I think he's kind of scary, but it's obviously like a cartoonish performance. In The Dark Knight, the Joker, and in Suicide Squad, the Joker gets up to little schemes, but they're played as like thriller scenes. You're like waiting for the penny to drop and for the guns to start firing. Whereas in this, I feel like the Joker is allowed to just do his shtick for like 5 to 10 straight minutes of just being silly and weird.
And then Batman's like, all right, knock it off.
Yeah, and then Batman's like, knock it off. But there's no like, the camera is not constantly searching for the gun in the scene.
No,
the way that Nolan and David Ayer do. So
like there's no sense of like, oh, his float's going to explode.
Yeah, no. It's just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna enjoy this guy for a few minutes.
Yeah, what ends up happening in that scene is, well, first of all, we pointed out that Batman is flying around in like a fighter jet type thing, and we're like,
yes,
he lives up the road.
Yes.
Why is he in a jet? He lives in the city.
Yeah.
But anyway, along he comes, and his jet has a big scissors on the front of it, which cuts the ropes that are tying the balloons down.
Yes.
Which leads Jack Nicholson to go, my balloons.
Those are my balloons.
Those are my balloons.
What's he doing with my balloons?
My balloons are going away. Something.
Brilliant.
Anyway, yeah.
That's great.
That's the entire scene. There's no more action to that.
Yes. From the very first second of this film, it treats its audience with respect because it trusts that you know the Batman's parents' backstory enough that they can do a fake out where they show this couple and a boy down an alleyway.
Yeah.
You think you're watching Batman's parents be killed, and then it's revealed to just be like a random robbery in the present day that Batman is about to intervene in.
Yeah.
And it's like a Batman movie today would never have except maybe the Lego Batman movie would never have the awareness of the cultural, presence to be like, we can play around here with the audience's knowledge of Batman lore, and then we can do a fake out. Like that is a good, intelligent joke. Later on in the film, we do see the actual killing of Batman's parents, which they are killed by the young iteration of Jack Nicholson's Joker character, Jack Napier. And the actor who plays young Jack Nicholson is a actor and now television director called Hugo Blick, who I have met, which was a lot of fun the day I realized that he played the young Joker in Batman. He is now a very highly regarded television director. He worked on The English, The Honorable Woman, still acts, and he was at a work event, and very nice man, and very funny to me that he is in this movie. It's great. Anything else to say about this? Basically, the plot is pretty simple. Batman kind of like very, very like a very first Batman movie plot. You know?
Sure.
Batman is Bruce Wayne. He's rich. He's living in a big house. There's a beautiful woman hanging out with him. The Joker is horribly disfigured, becomes this criminal mastermind.
He was like head of the mob anyway, or something.
Yeah, he was already involved in crime. He kills Jack Palance in the first few scenes. Then the Joker becomes very silly and goofy when he turns evil. He robs all the paintings, or he defaces all the paintings in the
which is great, which
gallery.
is like a dance party scene.
And they play one of the great Prince songs, because Prince did the music for this, which is such a wonderful
That
choice.
kind of tells you an awful lot about the tone of this, is that Prince did the music.
Yeah. And
could have let Prince be the Joker.
They should. Oh,
Let
Prince would have
be
been really
Batman.
good. Prince would have been great as Batman. Prince should have been somebody.
Prince should have been someone.
And then he basically just tries to kill Batman, and Batman has to rescue some people, and I don't know. It's not that complicated. And then he has his money parade, and it ends.
The bits I tune out of most are kind of like the more sincere, like straight up action scenes.
But
Like
it's
all
like
the action happens in like a building where there's a big cauldron of acid.
Yes,
which is like a good setting.
It's good. It is 2 hours and 6 minutes, and I think it absolutely flies by.
Yeah, I agree.
An 80-minute film,
And it does. I think again, it does a really good job of like splitting the film between three different kind of angles.
Yes,
Where you have the Batman,
mm-hmm.
you have Joker doing his thing, but you also have these two journalists.
Yeah,
which again, I think if you're having two weird guys in a film, you need a third presence to be kind of the normal one.
Yes, which is what Harvey Dent should be in the Dark
Knight. It's what Harvey
Knight.
Dent is in the Dark Knight. It's what.
I don't know. There's other.
It happens. It happens in Zoolander, going from Zoolander 1 to Zoolander 2.
Yes, and it's funny that, like, as we said, this film really seems to understand that Batman is boring as a character, and that you cannot really spend too much time with him on his own. You need to constantly show us the villains, because they're where
he's just kind of a guy that has no friends and like just has this weird.
He's
hobby.
just a boring rich guy who hangs around.
He's also like a kind of a shit Batman as well.
He is a shit
He gets
Batman.
shot multiple times.
Yes. It's always such a treat when Batmans make mistakes. Now, the Pattinson Batman kind of fucks up as well, but he's just such a drag to hang out with.
Yeah.
He's just the most miserable fucker. Why would I want to hang out with this 33-year-old rich kid?
He makes mistakes because he's a bit dumb. Like the Batman here make mistakes because they're like overly enthusiastic and think they're just optimistic in their abilities.
Yeah. Like, I think Christian Bale is an interesting Bruce Wayne. I think I think Christian Bale is just like a more interesting actor than these guys. So it's like fun to hang out with him a little bit in those movies. But like, if you're dealing with Michael Keaton or Val Kilmer or Robert Pattinson or Ben Affleck, you should spend as little time with Batman as you possibly can, and more time with the colorful characters around him.
Like, are the Nolans the one? Did you record that sneeze?
Keep going.
Okay. Proportionally, does Christian Bale have the least amount of screen time in any of the Batman franchises, do you think?
It's hard to say. I think I watched Batman Begins yesterday in preparation for these episodes. He's in that so much.
Yeah,
he's in every scene of that.
Yeah.
There's like maybe 4 scenes with Cillian Murphy or Katie Holmes. He's on it. I think The Dark Knight is probably the least Batman has ever been in a Batman film, and The Dark Knight Rises he's in.
But he disappears for
a chunk of it. Yeah. But like, Michael Keaton is not in this movie all that much. I would say that Christian Bale is in 2 of those 3 films more than Michael Keaton is in this. Maybe I'm wrong. I wonder if Michael Keaton's exact screen time is available. So Michael Keaton is in 64 minutes between the 2 Batman films that he's in.
Okay.
So someone here has done a little breakdown of Batman actors by... Okay, so in this film, Batman is in the film for 32 minutes, and Joker's in the film for 32 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Out of 126 minutes.
126. Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot of gaps. Like, there's a bit of crossover.
Those are a different 32 minutes, I guess.
Well, not all of it.
But I guess there's just like another 45, 50 minutes of this film that's
probably
just
10 minutes where they're both in it.
Exposition, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in Batman Returns, also with Keaton, Catwoman is in the film for 33 minutes, and Batman is in it for 31 minutes.
Yeah.
The most on-screen a Batman has ever been is Ben Affleck, who is on screen for 158 minutes between Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, those films are very long.
Yeah.
Those films are very long. But they are films in which Batman is one of several main characters. Christian Bale is in the 3 Dark Knights for 151 minutes out of, 8 hours probably. And Pattinson is in the Batman for 2 hours and 9 minutes. So Pattinson is in basically every scene of the Batman.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Christian Bale's only in 2 hours worth of Batman?
2.5.
Out of 7,
out of
8
7
hours.
or 8, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite low.
Pattinson is in over 2 hours of 3 hours, which is incredible. Keaton is in 64 minutes of 2 movies. Adam West is in 48 minutes of the 90-minute 1966 film. Val Kilmer is in Batman Forever for 44 minutes, and George Clooney is in Batman and Robin for 32 minutes. Weird. Okay.
Do they... Okay, this is getting very specific,
Yeah.
but like, if they're in a scene, but the shot is not on them, are you...
I have no idea.
You don't know.
Let's ask Reddit user Mr. Miracle. Maybe he'll tell us.
He sounds like a Batman villain.
Yes. The ad agency created hundreds of unused logos and posters for promotion. In the end, Burton and producers decided on only using... This is our little poster corner that we've abandoned recently. They decided to use only a gold and black logo designed by Anton Furst to keep an air of mystery about the film. Earlier designs had the word Batman spelled in a different font. John Peters unified all the film's tie-ins. He turned down $6 million from General Motors to build the Batmobile because the car company would not relinquish creative control. During production, Peters read in the Wall Street Journal that fans were not satisfied with the casting of Keaton. In response, he rushed the first trailer out before Christmas because he wanted people to get excited about how Michael Keaton looked. And Batmania hit the US in 1989. Over $750 million worth of merchandise was sold. Kevin Smith remembered, that summer was huge. You couldn't turn around without seeing the bat signal somewhere. People were cutting it into their fucking heads. It was just the summer of Batman, and if you were a comic book fan, it was pretty hot. Hachette Group published the novelization. It remained on the bestseller list. Burton admitted he was annoyed by the publicity. Shut up, Tim Burton. So yeah, it was a big marketing... It was a historically big marketing movie.
Yeah.
It was huge. They did lots of fucking Happy Meal shit, and posters and soundtrack by Prince was everywhere. It is often cited as the first... It is
kind of viral movie.
Yeah, like Jaws is the first summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Superman is the first comic book movie, but this is kind of the first blockbuster that sort of used modern trailer poster marketing techniques.
Yeah.
And a lot of what's done now with blockbuster films kind of started with John Peters and Batman, so they deserve a lot of credit for that. It was the highest grossing Warner Brothers film of all time until 1996 when Twister surpassed it.
That's funny.
This movie cost $48 million, of which...
Wow.
I mean, I guess Nicholson only got 8 up front, and then it made almost $500 million in 1989 money. So yeah, Nicholson would have ended up with that much money. Jack Nicholson, first build. I'll chat about him first. He's one of the biggest stars that we've never covered on this podcast. He is, of course, the winner of 2 Academy Awards. I can't do a Jack Nicholson voice. I really wish I could. Yeah. My Jack Nicholson's going to end up sounding like a bad Jeff Goldblum. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try.
He can't really talk like Jack Nicholson. No, not good. I should try and impersonate every actor we cover.
Yeah.
How did you do Michael Keaton? Michael Keaton has a lisp. Or he has a little speech impediment.
He kind of talks with his front lip.
Yeah, he does. He talks with
his a little bit further
his
out.
his top lip is a bit out like this.
Yeah.
He goes, "You want to get nuts?
You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts."
Yeah.
Oh, so we didn't
I'm
talk
over
about
it.
that scene. Great scene.
Great.
Scene. Jack Nicholson, sorry, apologies. The winner of 3 Academy Awards. He's one of the only 3 Oscar boys. His first Oscar won in 1976. Best Actor, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
He wins then again. Supporting Actor, 84, Terms of Endearment. And then he wins Best Actor again, 98, As Good as It Gets. He's also nominated for Oscars for Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces, The Last Detail, Chinatown, Reds, Prizzy's Honor, Ironweed, A Few Good Men, and About Schmidt. The man is one of the great American actors.
Indeed.
He is unfortunately retired. I think it's a bummer that he's retired because he probably could have had a few more great performances in him.
Mm-hmm.
He is in good health. He shows up to the Oscars. He shows up to Lakers games. He's not a recluse the way that Gene Hackman is. He, of course, is entitled to his retirement, but I am sad that he maybe could have worked with a few more great directors.
Yeah, you can kind of tell from his contract negotiations in this film. He's not a guy who likes to work that much.
No, I think that he, it's funny that the last phase of his career was working with people like Alexander Payne and Aaron Sorkin. It feels to me as if he could have had another act where he got to work with Paul Thomas Anderson or Wes Anderson or some of these guys that have done amazing things with older actors. And we're just missing out on that kind of unnecessarily. Obviously, he does The Departed and 06, but I don't know. I feel like as much as I respect his laziness and his retirement, there was maybe 3 more great Jack Nicholson films that we could have done that we just didn't get. But he was constantly being speculated a couple of years ago that they were going to do a remake of the German film Tony Erdmann with him and Kristen Wiig. Which is a film basically about so the original film is Sandra Hüller from Nightmare Before
Okay.
Fall. And basically she has like a crazy dad
Yeah.
in his 70s. And he's a crazy dad and he wears like big fake teeth and he wears a funny costume and he shows up and like terrorizes her like in a goofy way. It's very weird German comedy. And they were going to remake it with Wig and Nicholson. And Nicholson's role would have basically been to be like crazy grandpa, like showing up and like really big and really silly. And he, I think, was kind of like thinking about it and then he passed on it. And then they tried doing it with Bill Murray, which would have sucked because Bill Murray is a fucking vacuum of energy and joy in his later years. Just absolute miserable looking man. And then it never got made. But it would have been really fun. And I would have liked to see Kristen Wiig and Nicholson.
Do you think
that
this
would have been great?
Any chance he pops up in one of these random fucking DC Batman films
No.
where they throw we'll give you $10 million, you get out of a car at the
I
end
don't
of the
think
film.
he would do it. I don't think he would do anything Batman related for any amount of money. I think he's got probably a bit of a mental I don't have any evidence of this, but I feel like he has a bit of a mental block on like, I'm not doing the fucking superhero shit again.
Yeah.
If anyone was going to get him out of retirement now, maybe like Scorsese can, but I don't think he's going to fucking show up and do a DC movie.
Yeah.
I also don't think that they would be that arsed. DC aren't as desperate as Marvel. I mean, who knows how much money they got.
I don't know, but didn't they get Keaton and
they got
Clooney
Clooney.
recently? Yeah.
They got Clooney. I don't know how much they paid Clooney to be in that, but Clooney would definitely say yes much faster than Nicholson would.
Sure.
Um,
When was Nicholson's last role? So
2010 is his last role in a genuinely terrible film.
Bucket
called-
List?
No,
Last Vegas?
No, he's not in Las Vegas.
he's not in
the
Las
Bucket
Vegas.
List would be a perfectly serviceable last film.
Yeah.
This is what annoys me. He's in Anger Management in 03, so we've discussed him on our
Very
Adam
good.
and Ben podcast, which you can listen to, which is a great, it's great he got the Adam Sandler collab in.
Yes.
Delighted that happened. He stuck that one through in 03. Then he does Something's Gotta Give in 03 as well, which is fine, which is Jack and Diane, and we'll do it someday on this podcast. In 06, he does The Departed, which is a great use of him.
Yeah.
In 07, he does The Bucket List. Now, I would obviously love The Departed to be his last film. If I can't take it, I'd love The Bucket List to be his last film. Oh, sorry. The Bucket List I will tolerate. The Bucket List is like, at least it's like about being old and dying, and it has some thematic resonance. His last film is this Owen Wilson, Reese Witherspoon rom-com that James L. Brooks made called How Do You Know, which really, really sucks. It's just awful. It's the worst. He's in like 4 scenes. He plays Paul Rudd's dad or Reese Witherspoon's dad. Like a shit role. Yeah. It's a film that famously it's a romantic comedy, all set in New York apartments. It famously cost $120 million. I'd say Jack Nicholson probably got paid 100 of that, and he is barely in it. He sucks in it. It's a bad movie, and it is one of the more depressing final films a great actor has ever had. A little bit similar to how Gene Hackman could have very easily made Tenenbaum's last film. And as far as I know, his final film is a Ray Romano comedy called Welcome to Mooseport.
Right.
So these guys just kind of, they dropped the ball at the last second.
Maybe he would have done more films if How Do You Know wasn't so bad.
Yes, it may have put him off. It may have. But
Anger Management kind of has a Batman Joker dynamic to it.
It does.
Where instead of like trying to get the Batman to kill him, he's like, I'm going to make you mad.
Yes. Anger Management's really good.
Kind
We should watch it again. I think Jack Nicholson trying to get with Marissa Tomei is like a great storyline as well. Like,
yeah.
Marissa Tomei, who's famously was presented with her Oscar by Jack Palance from in the Batman,
yes, of course.
who announced Marissa Tomei.
Very legitimately and 100% sure
yes,
that was
exactly. But yeah, I don't know. I think Jack Nicholson is a great actor. I think that this film demonstrates his range, his willingness to not be so serious. Why so serious? He's a great Joker. Maybe the best Joker? Wink, wink. We'll find out. We'll rank Jokers at the end of our Joker month.
I guess so.
We need a little theme song for Joker month. Ha 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 ha, Joker month. Ha 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 ha, Joker month.
We'll work on it.
Michael Keaton, meanwhile, winner of 0 Academy Awards. Although I think the average person on the street would
tell you he won for
that
Birdman.
He won. I think he's one of the most he won it in people's hearts.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. People ever. Like, it really feels as though
he's the guy that was in that movie that year.
Yeah. Like, he was the winner of the Best Picture winner. Yeah, sorry. He was the star of the Best Picture winner.
Yeah.
He was the favorite the entire award season. His performance literally screams, give me an Oscar from the fucking rooftops. It is literally a performance about an actor desperate for
attention,
warmth and attention.
Yeah.
I think, and it's trying a bit too hard, in my opinion, to win an Oscar. But have you seen Birdman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of Birdman?
I really liked it when I saw it.
So did
I have not revisited it at all, but
an interesting one to rewatch soon.
But again, it's just got lots of fun people.
Yeah.
It moves. It was probably one of the.
It literally does move.
Yeah, it was that single shot thing was a novelty to me at the time.
Sure.
I hadn't like seen a couple of things. Maybe it'd irritate me now, but
Yeah.
like
I think the
I like Michael Keaton shouting at the critic in the bar and stuff.
Sure.
Like it's corny, but it's like
yeah, it's kind of enjoyable in a newsroom sort of way.
yes, exactly. It's
where
enjoyable
I
in a
don't
Michael
agree
Keaton
with
way.
the messaging, but I like watching these actors deliver this.
Yeah.
But I think Michael Keaton's just not the best performance in it, though. Like I think Edward Norton is terrific in it.
Yeah.
I think that Naomi Watts is actually great in it, and people forget she's in it.
Mm.
I think Keaton's maybe like third or fourth best performance in it. But anyway, he was the Oscar winner that year in people's hearts. He was, of course, beaten by Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything, written and produced by Anthony McCartan, another person I've met in work. And I think that's a terrible performance in a terrible film. So Michael Keaton should have won. I mean, my Best Actor winner 2014, probably Ben Affleck in Gone Girl. Corey Stoll in Glass Chin. I don't know.
Does Eddie Redmayne get work anymore?
Eddie Redmayne has been doing a lot of...
He's on the Keira Knightley circuit, like no.
Well, no, he's actually just been playing... He's been in a stage production of Cabaret.
Oh yes,
That's like been his big shtick.
Yeah, I saw that.
But yeah, I think Best Actor 2014, I'm going Ben Affleck in Gone Girl. Anyway, that's my choice. I can't think of anyone else right now. I'll tell you, when I was whatever age I was in 2014, which is 10 years ago, I would have told you that the Best Actor Oscar that year should go to Andy Serkis for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And that was a stupid opinion right now. Okay. That is an Empire Magazine pilled opinion. Now, Michael Keaton, only one Oscar nomination for Birdman, which is a bit silly because he should have been nominated for Spotlight. But anyway, we need to, I guess, acknowledge that Batman, he was at something. He had his finger on the pulse there. Birdman is basically about Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
He's playing a guy who played a famous superhero 30 years ago called Birdman, who comes back to play Birdman or whatever, or he's being offered new roles as Birdman. Michael Keaton makes Birdman. 3 years later, he shows up in Spider-Man as the Vulture, literal bird man. And then 4 years after that, he shows up in The Flash as Batman again.
That sounds a lot worse when you say it out like that.
It's very depressing.
It is.
He just did the thing that the movie's about not doing, you know?
Yeah, it's like Cate Blanchett being in Borderlands.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. It is depressing. Now, he's good in both those movies, actually. Like,
that's the thing.
He's
a good actor.
Always good. He's a good actor.
Like
he shows up in Spider-Man. Have you seen that first Tom Holland Spider-Man? He plays Zendaya's dad.
Her dad, yeah.
And there's a great
I've seen
reveal.
bits of it.
So he's been set up the whole movie as the villain, right?
Yeah.
He's like a working class mechanic guy who's been screwed out of his business because Avengers destroyed his factory or some shit. And he's like, I hate superheroes. Spider-Man is, going back to Zendaya's house, his, prom date. And obviously Zendaya is, ethnic. And you're like, oh, her dad is probably black or whatever. They rock up to the house. Michael Keaton opens the door. You're like, oh, sorry, I take back what I just said. Zendaya is not his daughter in that movie. It's a black actress. Sorry, apologies. Zendaya is MJ, but the girl in the prom date scene is a different actress.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And the joke, she's a black actress and Michael Keaton is the white dad. And the movie uses like your assumptions about the race of the character to do a really great surprise with Michael Keaton. That's really fun. Anyway, then he shows up in The Flash as Batman. He shows up at the start. He's got a big bushy beard. They go to Ezra Miller goes to his Wayne Manor. He's got a big bushy beard. He takes out like a stick and starts like doing loads of action shit.
Yeah.
He's pretty good in it. He's like the second lead of that movie and he brings a lot of energy to it, and that film was pretty enjoyable as a result of him being in it. So a lot of credit to Michael Keaton there. But Michael Keaton is, he's vibing. He's doing as well as he would be doing if he had won that Oscar, in my opinion.
Like, is he overachieving given the level of talent he has?
Is he overachieving? No, he's like exactly achieving at his level.
Okay.
He's not an amazing actor, but he's like fine. And I think he's doing better now than he was. Like before the Oscar nomination, he was, he showed up in The Other Guys, obviously, but he's in like the RoboCop remake, Need for Speed. Like this shit's depressing.
Yeah.
Since the Oscar nomination, he's been in Spotlight. He's been in The Trial of the Chicago 7, which he has a fun little surprise appearance in. He's like the witness who shows up in the last second half.
Oh, he's the police FBI guy or something.
Matthew Clark. Then he's in a really pretty good film that you and I both liked, Worth. Bet you haven't thought about Worth in a while.
I think about Worth all the time.
Worth is like the best Michael Keaton performance.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, because he's playing a kind of a
it really leads into
economist kind of like twitchy little guy.
It's great moral conflict stuff for him. Like,
yeah, it's very, very like a guy I know in real life.
And he does a Bernie Sanders impression the whole movie.
He does, yeah.
He talks like this for some reason. Anyway, it's good. He's really good in it. Then
he does the McDonald's movie.
He did the McDonald's movie, which absolutely blows so bad. Yeah. He directed a film last year called Knox Goes Away, which is like a super generic like hitman movie.
Okay.
And then he appeared, of course, in everybody's favorite Dope Sick, in which he played Dr. Samuel Phoenix. And Dope Sick is like probably one of the most watched streaming miniseries of the last decade. Yeah. It seems to have just been on every country has had it on its like number one TV channel.
They're doing it on RT now.
Yeah, like everyone has seen Dope Sick, so he's sticking around in people's imaginations.
It is.
So well done, Michael Keaton. We love you. We may never discuss you on this podcast again because you're not a real movie star. But
have you verified your question or your suggestion you had last week that he has a number one film in like 5 or 6 consecutive decades?
Yes. So we haven't really looked at people's box offices the last couple episodes, I feel like.
No.
That's a good... I can't verify that right now, but I did... So
I think this will be a rather close one.
Sylvester Stallone has a record, folks, where he has had a number one movie in the 60s. I think starting in the 60s, maybe in the 70s. 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s, right? Now he got... The 2020s one is like he plays the fucking shark in the Suicide Squad or whatever. Like it's a technicality, but he's
not one of the Creeds.
The Creeds? Oh, he's not in any Creed that came out post 2020.
Oh, is he not?
Okay. No. Keaton, I feel like could be one of those guys because Beetlejuice is about to come out. And it's about to be number one movie. Obviously, I don't know if The Flash was. In the 2010s, Spider-Man: Homecoming is a number one movie. Obviously, in the 2000s is where I'm worried. But you know what? He's in Cars. And Toy Story 3. 2000s covered.
Who does he play on those?
He plays Ken in Toy Story 3.
Oh, really?
Before Gosling was Ken, Michael Keaton was Ken. And he's great. Wow. He's great as Ken.
I forgot there was a Ken in Toy Story.
In the 1990s, you got Batman Returns.
Yeah.
In the 1980s, you've got Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Keaton has not been in a film. His first movie is 1982.
Oh.
So we need Michael Keaton to be in a number one movie in the 2030s to equal the Stallone record, which he conceivably will do. He's 72 years old. His birthday is 2 days before mine. But right now he's on 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. 5 consecutive decades. He needs 6 to equal the Stallone record.
That's if Stallone hasn't had something in the 60s.
Yes.
We're unsure.
Yes. Ford will have 6, I think, when... he would have had 6 regardless. Indiana Jones opened to first place last year, I assume. I was going to say when Captain America comes out. Keaton is more likely to be starring in big movies 10 years from now than Harrison Ford is.
Harrison Ford's
he's 10 years younger
older
than him.
Yeah.
He's 10 years. He's 72. So he's youngest of those 3 guys, but he'll get there.
Yeah.
But I do like him. I have great affection for him. I don't think he should be anybody's like favorite actor though. Anyway,
have we got the career box office for these 2 actors?
So, do you want to guess who has a bigger career box office? I feel like that could go either way.
Yeah. I think given just like how money works with inflation and stuff and Michael Keaton's fondness for being in Marvel stuff, you got to go with Michael Keaton.
Marvel stuff always fucks us up.
It does, unfortunately.
Jack Nicholson's total box office is $3 billion.
Mike Keaton's probably about like 8 randomly.
Michael Keaton's is 6.
6, yeah.
His biggest movies, Minions, Toy Story 3,
oh god, yeah.
Spider-Man: Homecoming, Cars, Batman, Dumbo, Batman Returns, The Flash, RoboCop, Need for Speed, the other guys, Morbius, cameos. Jack Nicholson's biggest movie, Batman, as good as it gets, The Departed. But Jack Nicholson's is worth more because Jack Nicholson has 10 movies in here, over 100 million, that are dramas.
That would not make money if he was not in them.
Exactly. Yeah. He is the bigger movie star by some distance. As good as it gets, someone's got to give. A Few Good Men, Anger Management, The Bucket List, Cuckoo's Nest, Terms of Endearment, About Schmidt, Mars Attacks, all made over 100 million.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe Mars Attacks, the rest of those are Jack Nicholson success stories.
I really need to do some work on a little project where we quantify whose box office is better.
For every episode, in
think
terms
so.
of whose star value has contributed to the box office.
I think
in a
so.
bigger way.
There's
That would be
got to
fun.
be a way to figure
We
out
need to come
like
up with
is
a system
a
for it. Yeah.
like who did we find out had like a random 14 billion box office because
Haven't
he
a clue,
showed up
but-
as a ninth character in a few Marvel films.
Yes, I know. Somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
It is annoying when that happens. There must be a way to
Equalize it. Like,
Equalize
yeah.
it. I'm not going to do the box office for the weekend because I don't know 1989 that well.
Don't do the year.
Will we do the keywords or the credits game? I don't want to do the year either.
We'll try the keywords.
We'll do the
It's,
keywords, okay.
We'll do a new game.
Right. So keywords that I'm going to get. The keyword I'm going to go for is I'm going to do the keywords game. I'm going to quiz you.
Mm-hmm.
Investigative journalist. So
Okay.
Shane's going to have to guess the top movies on the numbers with the
On the
keyword
numbers.
investigative journalist. Batman is the third highest grossing film with investigative journalist as a keyword.
Okay. Let's see. What do we got here?
So number one is a
Are we like?
comic book movie.
Oh,
And number two is its sequel.
surely Spider-Man,
No.
Spider-Man of sorts, because he's a photographer. Does that count?
Spider-Man is not in these movies. The character of Spider-Man is not in these movies.
Is this one of? Is it an Avengers
No.
for some reason?
No.
Spider-Man's not in these movies.
No.
But you're implying there that he's related.
Sure. He's not in them.
Oh, Venom.
Venom number one, Venom the
Yeah,
Carnage,
Mr.
number two,
Mr. What's his
Eddie
name?
Brock.
Eddie
I
Brock.
didn't realize that Venom made 850 million and Venom 2 only made 500. Like, still worth making a third one. but
Absolutely,
big drop.
100%.
Also, Venom 2 came out in COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, then Batman. Then number 4, we got a movie, sort of a end of the world type thing.
An end of the world type thing.
I watched this recently. I don't know if you're going to get this. It's Deep Impact.
Sure, I wouldn't have made the journalism connection there.
These are tough. Number 5, we've got something called Never Say Die. I don't even know what that is. Then we've got a classic romantic comedy from the 90s. I don't know.
See, in my head, like the films I think of when I think investigative journalism, I'm not thinking.
These keywords
Ones that
on
win
here are
money.
dumb. Like,
Yeah.
keywords on here are dumb.
No, don't trash the game while the audience is still
The game
listening.
is
We've
trash.
got to hype it up.
Runaway Bride.
Runaway Bride.
Then we've got Crocodile Dundee 2.
Fuck off.
Scooby-Doo 2.
Fuck off.
The Post.
Yeah, okay. The Post, Zodiac.
Is
Is Zodiac in there?
The Post.
Spotlight.
Blood
One
Diamonds.
of these.
Man on Fire. Cloud
Man on
Atlas.
Fire.
Michael. Philomena. Spotlight. Philomena made more money than Spotlight.
Michael Clayton there? That's not really journalism.
No. Zodiac. Hail Caesar. The Insider. Good
Hail
Night and Good
Caesar.
Luck. Nightcrawler. Almost Famous.
Zoolander?
No.
She's a journalist.
Yeah. This is dumb. This game is retired. Henceforth.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Um,
Jimmy Fallon wouldn't quit a bit halfway through. Who was going like shit? We gotta stick this
that's why
out.
he's the real deal.
It is, yeah.
No other games. We'll wrap this up. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
This fucking rules. Go and watch it.
We're at 47 minutes. Yeah, go watch it. It's great. And we'll be back next week with
More Joker.
The Dark Knight.
What if the Joker got twisted?
What if he got twisted? We're gonna have to debate whether
What if
The
the
Dark
Joker was
Knight
crazy?
is The Dark Knight better than this movie? Is Heath Ledger a better Joker than Jack Nicholson? Find out next week on the Dark Knight episode of Boy Party. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everybody. Visit boypartypod.com or follow Boy Party Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Hi.
And we'll see you next week. Bye bye.